Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have a This Year in Perfume, and we are all the way to the year 2016. Now, before we get started, unlike some YouTubers, I am not going to be the one to always complain. However, I do have to tell you that I am fighting a bout of food poisoning, just to tell you how committed the Ram is. Let's just say it was a long night, without going into any details. And yet, here I am on a Sunday doing this monster video for you. Actually, if I knew what a monster video was going to be, I probably would not have done it. Because this is a top 53. As we continue to go on in the years, my hard work and commitment to the channel over the years has continued to bite me in the ass, because I promised that if I reviewed a fragrance on the channel, gave a full review, even off a decant or a sample or something, I would include it in the rankings. And let's just say a lot of these keep coming up. So I did not take the time to find the little samples so I can show you each one, but let's just say there is a lot of full bottles, but there's also a lot of samples that there are full reviews that I have done on the channel. So my hard work has kind of come back to bit me in the ass on these, but I'm glad to do them. I think these will be great videos in the future to refer to or to learn about fragrances that are released in a particular year. I think it's a great way to understand fragrance history, if you will. And a couple people told me they're kind of watching these series in reverse. Some people say they view them as like a, kind of like, you know, while they're driving, they just stick it on like a, damn, see, it's already happening. My mind's going blank. Like kind of a podcast, if you will, where they just kind of listen and they don't necessarily watch the bottles and stuff I'm showing you. But either way, I'm excited to do this, but we do have to get a move on it, because these are going to be a lot to discuss. So first, let's get ourselves in the mindset of 2016. So here's some events that happened to bring us back to what was going on in 2016. Obviously, the main thing would be the election of 2016. That was kind of the number one thing, Donald Trump winning the presidential election. No matter how your politics lean, you have to think it's funny watching the pundits' head explode when they realize that he actually won the election. And we'll just leave politics at the door, but that's my take on it. The Brexit referendum, that'll take you right back to 2016. There was some interesting news around Brexit. I saw a very interesting podcast comparing that this is not the first Brexit that has ever happened. There's a ton of other Brexits that have taken place over the years, and they compared some historical events of kind of England leaving Europe, because England is sort of part of Europe because they're right there, but there's the channel that divides them, so they see themselves different from Europe. Very interesting psychological stuff. But the Brexit referendum happened. The Zika virus happened. The Orlando nightclub shooting happened in 2016, which was one of the deadliest shootings in United States history. The 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, I remember those. And there were some fights over, you probably remember, sort of whether to move forward with the plans for the Dakota Access Pipeline, which was supposed to be giving America energy independence, and which way they were going to go and all that good stuff. So you probably remember that tug of war between competing interests there, and that is obviously still going on. So there's some historical events, just some songs that have taken place. I just did Wikipedia top 100 songs. I'm going to read the top 10. If there's more you want to discuss, leave in the comments. Justin Bieber, Love Yourself and Sorry. One Dance by Drake. Work by Rihanna. Stressed Out by 21 Pilots. They have a new album coming out in May, apparently. Panda, Designer, Hello by Adele. Don't Let Me Down by the Chainsmokers. And Can't Stop the Feeling, Justin Timberlake. And Closer by the Chainsmokers again. And one bonus song, Cheap Thrills by Sia, featuring Sean Paul. Sean Paul still doing songs in 2016. Interesting. Some movies, which I guess movies sucked in 2016, or maybe I'm not finding them. Lavender, Genius, Disturbing the Peace, To Walk Invisible, Starfish Split, Sacred Water, and The Ticket. Never heard of any of those. Dark Crimes, The Monster, Exposed Gold, The Whole Truth, Ultimate Legacy, Misconduct. No clue. Are there any good movies in 2016? Any that I know? Oh, here's Bad Moms. Okay, I remember Bad Moms. Why Him, Nice Guys, Joshy, Get a Job. This is really, I think, when Hollywood crashed into the mountain. And it's continued to get worse. So anyways, if there's some good movies from 2016, do let me know. But I am not finding any. So let's do Scent of the Day, and then we will get into this top 53. Scent of the Day is something that is very true and dear to my heart. And I'll tell you what, I ranked my top 77 artisanal fragrances for my 7,000 subscriber bash celebration, if you will. And this was in the top 5. This is War and Peace. And this is a very special fragrance, and I put Antiquity ahead of it because I wore Antiquity recently, and you know what's funny is I think if I re-ranked it right now, this would be ahead of Antiquity. It's crazy. It's just back and forth. It's so hard with these Areej Dores. The other thing that's hard about this type of perfumery for me is I want to wear it all the time. I honestly don't want to wear anything else. Like, I constantly just want to wear these type. Sometimes I just get in a groove. Yesterday I wore Russian Oud. Today I wore War and Peace. Sometimes it's just like that. And especially on the weekends when I don't have to go to the office, it's an easy reach for me to wear this kind of stuff. But this is an amazing fragrance. And without saying too much, and I've reviewed it on the channel, you can check it out. But this is kind of the basis for the entire new Areej Dore Musks collection, if you will, because there is you'll notice that there's a co-absolute of deer musk in the base and castoreum. And so this is basically like castoreum, patchouli, musk sort of combination, if you will, and ambergris. Those are the big parts of the fragrance, but there's an amazing iris when you first spray this that hits my nose. Just one of the best, unbelievable iris roots I've ever smelled. Anyways, and rose, and just beautiful fragrance. So I'm very excited to get to know the new collection, especially the one that Royal Barn, which was apparently inspired by the way I described Cuir de Russie, which is a big honor. Anytime I can influence Russian Adam or someone like him in any fashion, I take that as an honor, since I'm just a guy up here rambling about perfume. Okay, so that's my scent of the day. So let's do some honorary mentions that are not on the list because I have not reviewed them and I only have samples, but just to give you an idea of the pure amount of fragrances that have come out, that are now coming out. And remember, these videos are not to list every single fragrance from 2016. These are highlighting fragrances from my personal collection, but I wanted to give you an idea of fragrances I've either talked about in live streams where they don't have individual reviews, or I have samples of that I just have not gotten around to doing a review of. If there's any you want me to try to push to the front, leave it in the comments. I'll do my best. We are still small enough where I can kind of take requests, if you will. But, you know, I can't promise anything, but we're still small enough where I can, you know, usually finagle things around at your request if you're interested. So, Acqua di Parma, Colonia Querica, Ajmal Kaifia 2, Alexander McQueen Parfum, Amouage's Bracken Woman, which there is an Amouage women's live stream you can check out if you're interested in hearing about some of those. Also, Lilac Love was on there. Opus 10, which I have a sample of and I have not gotten to the review yet. Midsummer, which again is on the women's Amouage live stream. Beaufort, Fathom 5, Beaufort Lignum Vitae, Bourgeois Russian Leather, Duchamp sent me that very kindly, Carner Barcelona Rose and Dragon, Cartier's Les Ors Voyages Oud Absolu, Chanel No. 5 Low, very nice, if you like Chanel No. 5 DNA, but more modernized, softer. Fortin Manley Charlatan, there's a Fortin Manley live stream on the channel you can check out. Fragrance Du Bois Heritage, which smelled very similar to Jubilation 25 to me, but there is a Fragrance Du Bois live stream on the channel if you want to check that out and laugh. Guerlain's Neroli Ultra Noir, Hermes Gallo, that is a fantastic fragrance. I would love a bottle of Gallo one day. I'm going to review that, but that is just brilliant. Great fragrance. House of Matriarch Eaglewood and Kazemi. Imaginary Author's Slow Explosion, Issey Miyake's Pour Homme Noir Ombre. This was very kindly sent to me by David, who sent me some amazing cigars that I've been burning through at probably too fast of a rate, but been enjoying those. Kerosine's Blackmail, MDCI La Barber de Tangier, Memo's Russian Leather, Moda di Oreo, Bohea Boheme, Parfums Cortana, Bloodflower, Digitalis, Hemlock, Midnight Datura, Venetian Belladonna, and Wolfsbane, Parfum de Marly Nissan, Pure Distance Shaduna, Rania J, Queer Andalou, which is a Rania J live stream on the channel you can check out, Strange Love Silence the Sea, which has really been growing on me. I've been testing it occasionally. That's a beautiful ambergris. Sultan Pasha's Tabak Grand and Violet Noyi. And Sultan Pasha's work has definitely been growing on me. Really, really impressed, let's say. I'm not a big Attar guy, or I never was until really getting to know Sultan Pasha's work, but his stuff is phenomenal. Tower's Lonesome Rider, which is sadly discontinued. The Harmonist Guiding Water in Royal Earth. Versace Pour Homme Dylan Blue, one of the worst fragrances I've ever smelled in my life. Xerjoff Casamarati Italica. There's a Xerjoff live stream if you want to laugh. And Zoologist Beaver and Nightingale. There's a Zoologist live stream if you want to laugh. So, just look at that. Those are samples. Okay, so now let's get to the main prize. Number 53 is a fragrance I reviewed within the last couple months, and it is probably one of my most hated fragrances of all time. And what's funny is, I think Luca Turin gave this 5 stars. That just goes to show this is a hobby. You know, there is no right and wrong. This is my opinion, and don't ever forget that. You know, if I don't like something, don't ever let me stop you from liking it if you really love it. But it's called, by the Zoo, and it's called Club Design or Scent Tattoo. One was designed to be sprayed on fabric, and one was designed to be sprayed on skin. I despise, that's one of my most hated fragrance. I don't even know how to describe it. Go watch my review if you really want to get a feel, but it literally gave me one of the worst headaches. It was so repulsive and off-putting to me, just the smell of that strange, some people referred to it as a interior of a new car. I've seen all kind of things, but go check out my review. Very chemically hated it. At number 53. Number 52. Number 52 is a fragrance from the house of English Laundry, and this is a cheapie. It's called Windsor. And Windsor is actually not as bad as many people make it out to be. I don't have to spray it because I remember what this smells like. It's kind of like a strange mixture of maybe like a cheaper smelling Harrod meets Spice Bomb Extreme, right? So think Spice Bomb Extreme more with touches of Harrod's and maybe a little bit of the apple from Boss Bottled. Very winter sweet, you know, type of feel. Oriental. There's things like lots of cinnamons, and you get the idea. Leather and oud and tobacco in the base. But for $30 or whatever it is, I mean, hell, if you're going to spend $300 on Harrod or something like that, you could do much worse than this. So Windsor by English Laundry at number 52. Number 51, we're going to have to go fast, unfortunately. 51. Also, I don't think my voice will hold out. So Salvatore Ferragamo's Uomo. Now, this is a very divisive fragrance because there are some people who absolutely love this stuff. I've heard it referred to as confident and brave and all of this stuff, but for me, I obviously we're in 2016, and I'm gonna just really make this a great night by spraying this. So Uomo is a creation by our good friend Alberto Morillas and Aurélien Guichard, which I do not like, although there is a fragrance from this list which I think is one of his best works ever because he teamed up with Nathalie Lorson. On this one, Aurélien Guichard teamed up with Alberto Morillas, and this is a quote-unquote masculine fragrance that smells like tiramisu. Okay, so there's this sweet, if you know tiramisu, there's this sweet cake-like feel. You know, think coffee and cake with liqueur and a huge dose of ambroxan. This thing is a huge modern projector. You know, this is reach out and touch me territory, right? You're across the room, this thing will reach out and touch you. This is for the guy who wants everyone in the room to know that he's here. Very strong, lots of cashmeran and ambroxan, and it's very, very sweet. Way, way too sweet for me. I think that this type of interesting tiramisu note or whatever, I think it could have been pulled off successfully, but they would have needed to turn the sweetness down by a factor of 10 for my liking. Lots of tonka, which I have some actual tonka bean, and it smells nothing like a lot of times when you smell the tonka in here. Proper tonka should be nutty and fatty, and sometimes there's like hay-like aspects to tonka, but here you just get that gloopy, syrupy, you get the idea. And some people like that. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I just find these kind of fragrances very juvenile. So that's why English Laundry and Salvatore Ferragamo's Uomo that's why English Laundry Windsor and Salvatore Ferragamo's Uomo are at number 52 and 51. Number 50 is a flanker of a fragrance that I just learned is discontinued because of the last video I did from the year 2015. And so the original Dunhill icon is discontinued according to Perfume, which is absolutely shocking. So this is a flanker that came out a year later. And I think part of the problem with this line is, I really think when Icon came out in 2015, that it was a hit. I think they had a true hit on their hands. Actually, Icon I considered so good that it was one of the reasons why I never bought Terre de Hermes. Okay, sorry. It's going to be one of those days. So it's one of the reasons why I never bought Terre de Hermes. There's another reason why I never bought it, and it's actually in this list as well. And so, but because it took off a little bit and Icon started to get some traction, they flankered it to death. I mean, literally to death. A case study of what not to do. And one of those flankers is called Elite. Now, Elite is supposed to be their take on Icon with sort of dark woods and, you know, like a woody, spicy, you know, maybe there's an oud accord in here that's not listed or something along those lines, but it opens up with kaffir lime and cardamom, which I will say the kaffir lime note is interesting. You know, the House of Rogue has a Chypre that I really rate highly, that has a kaffir lime note, and I'll review that very soon. But this is kaffir lime, pepper, vetivers, woods, black suede, labdanum. Jean-Claude Deville and Benoit Lapauza teamed up for this one, and it's just, you know, it's not that it's a bad fragrance. It's just very meh. It's just I would take the original Icon over this. There's a lot of woody molecules in here that are just not convincing enough. I don't think it's a bad fragrance. Again, I just think that it could have been much better. So Icon Elite comes in at number 50. Number 49 is a Roja. And actually, you know what? I may have the this decant to show you. Uno momento. Let's see. Maybe I'm psyching myself out here, but yep, I'm not going to be able to find it. I'm going to need more time. I thought it was right there, but it isn't. But anyways, it is a sample that I've reviewed on the channel. You can go check it out. It's called A Midsummer Dream at number 49. Some of you may be surprised to see a Roja this low. There are some in the top 5. Well, there is one in the top 5, so you're going to get a Roja up top as well. But this is one of my most hated Rojas, literally. Actually, if I ranked my Rojas, this would be right towards the bottom. I was very disappointed with this. It's called A Midsummer Dream. And A Midsummer Dream is a very floral, fresh. I remember there being a lot of musk. So even though there's all these things in here, you know, like 5 different types of citruses, 5 different types of flowers, you know, cyclamen, and it was powdery and extremely musky. In the LME resin, which you expect to be lemony and fresh, everything was very flat in this release to me. I was very disappointed with it. And I could not believe, you know, it really felt like this was kind of a turning point for the House of Roja Dove, like the old days of Diaghilev and the OG Fetish pour Homme and all that stuff was a different house. And now Roja started to move in a different direction with stuff like A Midsummer Dream. This is right around with the time they issued their Parfum Cologne. So A Midsummer Dream was an eau de parfum. So it was a little bit, quote unquote, cheaper. And I just felt like they were trying to reach a different audience. Go check out my review if you want more of a detailed take on the backstory of it and stuff like that. But let's just say that is a very disappointing scent for me. It was supposed to be in honor of the 400th anniversary of William Shakespeare's legacy, inspired by A Midsummer Night's Dream. So anyways, good backstory, bad fragrance in my opinion. So A Midsummer Dream at number 49. Number 48 is another sample, which you'll have to go to the channel to see my review of. It's from the House of Midsummer, which is Alberto Morillas's fragrance house, basically. All of these perfumers now that are big shots have their own fragrance house, and Midsummer's is Alberto Morillas's, and this fragrance is called Perfect Oud, which I just think is just, maybe it's a perfect name, but it is not a perfect oud. If you want to go see why, go watch my review. But honestly, if you know anything about some of these Western style ouds, you know exactly what I'm going to say probably. But this was oud, Bulgarian rose, coriander, bergamot, orris concrete, cade juniper wood, and Nucta cypress. If you like your ouds to be very fresh and almost smell like it's buried under all the other notes, try Perfect Oud. If you like your oud done in the style of Mancera or something like that, that's kind of the feel for Perfect Oud. But again, I didn't hate it. But I expect so much more. Maybe my expectations are too high. Hell, I don't know. But go watch my review if you're interested. Perfect Oud from Midsummer comes in at number 48. Number 47. Okay, back to bottles. We've got one from the house of Fong Dang. And I'm not sure if this house, I guess it's still around. Parfumo says they're still in production, but that's how their signature is on the bottle. Fong Dang. I think these were originally sold at Barney's, and then when Barney's closed down, I think they lost their retail outlet. So I think it's only sold on her website now. I'm not really sure, but this one's called The Calling. And I will review these before all is said and done. But The Calling is a little bit of a letdown for me. Again, it's a very spicy, sweet, sort of boozy. There's a rum note. There's lots of gourmand-like elements in here. So it's chocolatey, caramelly. There are some interesting things going on. Bertrand Duchaufour pulled out the green mango again, which he used so successfully in L'Artisan Parfumeurs. I can never remember the name. Timbuktu. So that green mango note comes back here with cumin and cypress, but this house suffers from kind of very similar feel to maybe like the strategy of a Parfums de Marly or something like that, where they're expensive bottles, they try to hold themselves out as niche and all that stuff, but the juice inside doesn't hold up to the expectation. Very interesting note listing: carnation, saffron, tobacco, labdanum, papyrus, all this stuff. And when the darker notes come through and the cumin come through, you're like, okay, this is interesting. But sometimes when some of the whole fragrance comes to your nose and you pick up the sweeter elements of the caramel and chocolate, I really didn't like. It was like I liked half the fragrance and I didn't like half the fragrance, if that makes sense. So as a whole, it was a fail. But there are bits, it wasn't a total wash. I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing. Interesting fragrance, but there are some better ones coming from 2016. That is called The Calling by Fong Dang at number 47. Number 46 is a Creed. And it is actually Creed Aventus for Her. So Aventus for Her, and you can see this bottle has been worn. And in fact, I would wear this. There is nothing that would stop me from wearing this. It's almost like Aventus for Her, the way I would describe it, is almost like a fruitier take on Aventus. Now, my issue with it is that I love Aventus. I'm not ashamed to say I love Aventus. I've ran through multiple bottles of Aventus in my life. I still have multiple bottles of Aventus in reserve. So I would probably wear Aventus first. However, they've amped up the fruity notes in here, so you get more green apple and peach, and it's a little bit fresher. They've added a Langy Lang note. They kept the pineapple, and the rose is amped up in here. Just imagine a fruitier, florally-er take on Aventus, right? So you don't get as much of the smoky birch and you don't get as much of some of the harsher elements of the patchouli in here, and you get more of the fruitier and the floral aspects. Still a beautiful fragrance. I think they did a good job with Aventus for Her from 2016. Okay, next on the list we have number 45, and I feel like this is going to go on for absolutely forever at this rate. So next on the list we have, from the house of MFK, Grand Soir. So, Grand Soir is, I don't have a bottle, but I do have 3 of these Discovery atomizers in here. They're supposed to be refills, but Grand Soir to me is a little bit of a letdown. Actually, it's a lot of a letdown because everyone hyped the shit out of Grand Soir, the greatest amber, blah, blah, blah. Completely disagree. In fact, I would take his Absolute Pour Le Soir as a better amber than Grand Soir. Grand Soir is kind of his boring amber to me. It is semi-sweet, lots of benzoin and labdanums and tonka beans and vanillas, and there's a little bit of lavender, but this stays perfectly unisex. There isn't a big dose of lavender to make it feel old school masculine or anything like that. Very unisex. In fact, I would almost say this leans, by the way it's done with lots of the resins and stuff like that, that it may even be a amber that would wear well on a woman. It's a very cozy amber and very sweet and resinous, and I just need a little bit more, in my opinion. I need more than just what Grand Soir is giving me. I will review this. I'm not a fan of kind of what he did here, but it will get a review one of these days. So Grand Soir from 2016 at number 45. Number 44, we have Initio's Side Effect, which I think I have the decant floating around. I didn't bother to try to find all these decants. It was impossible, but I have a review on Side Effect where I'm kind of looking at the camera like, what the hell is this? Side Effect is one of many Initio fragrances that gave me that look. Apparently, it's now part of the Carnal Blends line, which, of course, it's so carnal. Sweet, spicy, vanilla, rum, tobacco thing with a lot of sweet notes mixed in. Go watch my review if you want to laugh. I was not kind to it. For those of you who think that YouTube reviewers only say good things about fragrances, well, you have not watched most of my channel. So Side Effect did get the boot at number 44. Number 43 is a very interesting take on a vintage fragrance that was released in the modern era in 2016. It's from the house of Milano Cento, and this is called For Him. Now, For Him this is the Eau de Toilette. They then released the Eau de Parfum a couple years later, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is the Eau de Toilette. They released the Eau de Parfum a couple years later. I don't know if it's different or never smelled the Eau de Parfum, but the Eau de Toilette is interesting because it's kind of like an old school fougere that has some animalic notes on the top. So some say that the top gives them vibes of Kouros. I would not go that far, all right? But I would say that there is definitely a little bit of an animalic vibe in the opening. Yeah, I can see where some folks are coming from when they say that. But this goes much more into the fougere category. I think Kouros leans as a fougere anyways. I've heard this compared to things like Bowling Green by Jeffrey Bean and stuff like that. This very green, fresh take on a fougere, and you do get a lot of lavender and petit grain and basil and rosemary, and you get the herbal spicy hit, of an old school fougere with lots of spices. You get like cinnamon and clove and wood, sandalwood, patchouli, amber, musk. But that opening, the little bit of animalic opening bit in the opening makes it kind of interesting. There's a throwback feel, very spicy old school fougere, released in 2016. Brave release from a house. If you're kind of like me and when you smell a modern fragrance, you're like, if the sweetness of some of the stuff I'm talking about, Grand Soir and Side Effect, just make you kind of go, then something like this may be on your to sniff list. Let's put it that way. So, Milano Cento, EDT from 2016 at number 43. Number 42 is probably the best flanker of the 1 million line that I've ever smelled. And I've got actually samples of a couple of them, so I can review them. If you want me to bash the shit out of the OG, I can. But this is probably my favorite of the line, and it's called 1 Million Privé. So, 1 Million Privé is their tobacco take on it. So it is, and I am going to review this one of these days. I promised myself I would. It is discontinued, is the only problem. So prices have instantly gone up, as they are apt to do, but it keeps the same sort of red mandarin orange 1 million thing you're used to smelling with cinnamon, and it adds this shisha tobacco note and myrrh, along with tonka bean absolute and patchouli. So very, very interesting to me. Probably the most grown up of the 1 million line. Like if you are someone who grew up on 1 million and you love it, but you wanted to wear like 1 million to the office and show you're a little bit more grown up. Yes, it has some of the sweetness, but it's not as sweet. They've turned the sweetness down. They've tried to make it grow up a little bit. And, some people compare this to Wajan by Parfums de Marly. I've never smelled that, so I can't speak on that. But there definitely is a little more of a grown-up vibe. A little more. It's still sweet. But I don't think it's unbearably sweet. Like if you put a gun to my head and said, Ramsey, you have to wear a 1 million flanker or just a 1 million fragrance in general, this would be the one I would pick, Privé, from 2016. Okay, number 41 is a Sarah Jessica Parker fragrance, which apparently she's a big frag head. This is another discontinued fragrance, and this is called Stash. So Stash can be had at discounters sometimes for cheap. I think I got this for 30 or 40 bucks maybe. I can't remember exactly, but there's the bottle, and you can see the little Sarah Jessica Parker gold emblem right there on the cap. But Stash is a good fragrance, and actually, for a designer that you can pick up for 40 bucks. Like if this is your kind of thing, I would say go for it. This is basically like a woody, spicy, slightly smoky, and even though they use a lot of, where the hell is the hole on this thing? Even there it is. Even though they use a lot of modern woody molecules, you're going to get that, right? Yeah, you're instantly going to kind of pick up on the cedar wood or Atlas cedar, frankincense. Instantly, you're going to get the peppery frankincense, woody notes. But with that, there's sage and grapefruit zest, and probably the note that everyone loves talking about in here is the pistachio. And the pistachio is a very unique note. You don't see many pistachio notes in your perfume, right? But it just adds a little bit of a twist here. There's some ginger lily, massoya wood, musk, and vetiver. Very, very interesting for like a designer. You would expect it to be just shit instantly, right? It's not. It's actually really good. For this type of perfume. And I like the dry smokiness, you know. I complain a lot about sweet fragrances, although you will see as the list progresses that there are some sweet fragrances that I adore. I have a soft spot for some sweet fragrances. They're guilty pleasures, but I like it when the fragrances turn dry and they go away from that sweetness, which is you can't seem to get away from in modern perfumery. And this, for a designer, you know, the earthy touches, the green nutty touches of the pistachio, I guess that's where that, although it could be the patchouli and sage, but however it's working out, it's all you know, the earthiness of the vetiver. Very interesting for a designer, very interesting. And the price is another plus, 40 bucks if you can still find it. I would highly recommend getting your schnoz on Stash by Sarah Jessica Parker. Apparently she is a big frag head. Rumor on the street is she loves her perfume, so shout out to her. So that is Stash at number 41. Number 40 is the second and last Fong Dang fragrance in my collection. Back to Fong Dang, and this is called Untamed Oud. Definitely my favorite of the two, definitely. I like this much better than the Calling. Untamed Oud focuses more on the animalic side of the oud and tobacco. There's some rum and cumin and tar. It's Bertrand Duchefort again. But these are the only two from the line that I have smelled. I haven't smelled anything else from the house, so who knows? Maybe there's better fragrances, but these are the two that I know. The sprayer on these is very good. Cumin, coriander, honey, clove, apple, narcissus, absolute, rose, and hawthorn. Oud, tobacco, oak moss. Instantly you're hit with that boozy tar note and spices. That's probably the coriander seed and cumin. Sometimes coriander can come across as slightly leathery. And of course there's Cypriol to help with the oud accord that was built here. So Bertrand Duchefort built that oud accord. And Cypriol is also very earthy. Always gives me like a tingly feel, like a tingly oud. There is some ambergris in here as well. I don't know if it's real ambergris, but they say there's ambergris. These were pretty expensive, I think, at the store. I don't think these were cheap fragrances. I think these sold at Barney's for 300 bucks or something. So, you know, it could be real ambergris. Could be real oud. I have no idea. It certainly doesn't smell like the Areej Dore that I'm wearing today, but, you know, anything's possible. This is my favorite of the two, hands down. So I will be reviewing those Fong Dang fragrances very soon. Okay. So next on the list we have... Let me make some room for my blotters. Next on the list we have Guilty Pleasure Example number 1 at number 39. And this is Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Male Essence de Parfum. Now, discontinued. Sometimes you can get lucky like I did with this one and find 100 mil, 125 mil for 30 or 40 bucks on sale. But don't pay hundreds for this fragrance. It's not worth it. Le Male Essence de Parfum. And this is a very interesting fragrance because it is sweet. Obviously, it's sweet. That's why I said it's a guilty pleasure, but it is very well done for this type of fragrance. I know my brother Rich Mitch, brother from another mother across the pond, loves it as well. It's sweet, it's leathery. there is a note of osmanthus in here, which osmanthus can sometimes give off this sort of apricot-like, suede-like feel. So it's like suedey, leathery. There's some spices in the top, cardamom, and there's a very interesting note called Georgie wood in the top. And Georgie wood is a molecule developed by Givaudan that's supposed to have this very intense, clean, and woody smell. Go figure, Georgie wood. So Georgie wood, cardamom, bergamot, leather, osmanthus, and then tonka bean and vanilla. This is a Quinton Biche. This is a Biche mode scent. So, yes, good stuff. If you, as far as Le Male flankers go, that's one of the best, along with the impossible to find Fleur du Mal, which I will review on the channel. That's a Francis Kirkjohn creation. But yes, good stuff. Discontinued, again, unfortunately. Didn't even last from 2016. Puig pulled the plug on that pretty quickly, but I do rate that pretty highly. At number 39. Number 38 is an Armani flanker called Eau de Nuit Oud. So go check out my video on that one. I don't have the sample here, so I think I may have even used it all. It is also discontinued, so we're on a discontinued. You can see how impossible it is to keep up with everything. These houses put something like this out, like Eau de Nuit Oud, which I thought was pretty good. It's it's in the same oud realm as Tom Ford Oud Wood, or Versace Pour Homme Oud Noir, that kind of thing. But they release it. It lasts a couple years. They pull the plug. So this was cardamom, pink pepper, rose, orris, geranium, oud, saffron, tonka bean, bergamot on the top. I remember it being pretty good from memory, but again, there's a video on the channel. You can check that out if you're interested. Number 37 is a Davidoff. And this is one of the more modern Davidoff releases that I think is quite good. And this is called Amber Blend. So I showed a bottle from the 2015 video that I did called Leather Blend. And an Amber Blend, we go 1 year in the future. And it is basically a designer style amber. They say this is still available, but I don't know if these are only marketed overseas or what. Olivier Pechot was the perfumer. And this is cinnamon, nutmeg, amber, rum absolute, Peru balsam, and sandalwood. And I'll tell you what, for a designer amber, all right, for a fragrance, if you can buy this for less than $100, 80 preferably, 75, 80 preferably, go for it. It's a fair price for 100 mils here. The spices, I love nutmeg when it's done proper like this. So you get cinnamon, you get nutmeg in the top, and the nutmeg, works as like a referee, keeping all of these notes in bounds. The amber, the rum absolute makes it feel slightly sweet, but this is a amber, and it's done, in my opinion, much better than Grand Soir. Amber Blend is much more interesting to me. That rum absolute, yes, it adds a little bit of sweetness. Rum is technically a sweet liquor, but it also makes it feel very modern. And the Peru balsam seems to add sticky depth. I'm sure there's some labdanum and other things in here as well, along with the sandalwood. This is a good creation. This is a good amber. I think if you like things, the nutmeg and spices in the top, if you like things like, obviously the greatest amber of all time, Serres Lutons, Ambre Sultan, if you like those type of spicy ambers, give Amber Blend a try. This is marketed towards the Middle Eastern market, so there are some, heavier, maybe even a hint of oud accord in here, if you will. If you don't like that kind of thing, or, if you sniff an amber wood, you'll run in the other direction, then this is not for you. But I think the amber woods, if there are some in here, are used very, very well, very, very proper and delicately. So yes, Amber Blend, one of my favorite designer ambers at number 37. Number 36, we are at Parfum de Marly country, and it is Leighton. And you know what? If I ever want to go to a bar and smell like a 25-year-old dude, this is probably what I would wear. Although, to be fair, I don't hate this. Many people just, as soon as something blows up, like Leighton and Fragcom, they run the other way. They're like, oh, I hate it now. I'm not that kind of person. I I like what I like, and, you know, if people don't like it, well, fuck them. But Leighton for me is, obviously it was a huge hit. This DNA sparked a lot of copycats, if you will. But I like the way that the fruity lavender thing in the top mixes with the vanillic woody thing in the base. I understand it is way too sweet for me to like. Again, I said there's going to be some guilty pleasures in here. And I probably should not like Leighton, but there is just something about it that I like, you know. And like I said, I won't turn away from these fragrances just because they become popular. I like Leighton. I like Aventus. I still will wear them from time to time. Is this something that I reach for constantly? No. Like, do I have cravings to wear it? Like War and Peace? Hell no. But I won't bash it just because everyone else is bashing it. How about that? That's the best way I can put it. So Leighton at number 36. Number 35, we have a Roja, and I have reviewed this one on the channel, and I've reviewed the next Roja coming up as well. It's called Oh, the Exclusive Parfum. And, you know, the biggest issue with this for me, when I first smelled this, go watch my video of Oh, the Exclusive Parfum. If you want to see me kind of slack-jawed and in awe. As soon as I smelled this without knowing any information about it, I was like, oh man, this is Roja's take on Frederic Mall's The Moon, right? Has to be. And to my surprise, and this is now discontinued, by the way, this Oh, the Exclusive Parfum, but to my surprise, it was not, because The Moon came out like 3 years after this. So actually, this was first, which I was shocked to find that out. But this is raspberry, oud, leather, saffron, very Middle Eastern in style, woody and spicy. And it's got that, you know, Roja huge base. So you get bergamot in the top, and then some notes in the heart, raspberry and violet, May rose, geranium, and then this ton of notes in the base: saffron, oud, cedarwood, labdanum, cypriol, elemi, musk, oak moss, patchouli, pink pepper, sandalwood, vanilla, amyris, birch, leather, cashmere wood, ambergris. So you get the idea. Very base heavy, but very Middle Eastern in style. Even though this is Oh, the Exclusive Parfum, this easily could have been in the Middle Eastern range. And I'm going to say the same thing about the next fragrance, which the two smell very, very, very similar to me. And I've got reviews on the channel of both, so if you're really interested in the details, you can check both out. But at number 34, we have Roja's H, the Exclusive Parfum. And H, the Exclusive Parfum, smells very similar to Oh, the Exclusive Parfum to me. This has a Papanax and myrrh, whereas I don't think there was any Papanax and myrrh in Oh, the Exclusive Parfum. Just little tweaks here and there, but if you look at the base, the cashmere woods, the saffron, the birch, the oud, the patchouli, pepper, sandalwood, labdanum, musk, amber, I mean, it's the raspberry note after note after note after note is so similar in structure between these two. And you find that with Rojas, as you really dive into the brand, you will see rinse and repeat styles where a couple things are changed here and there. And I really like the opening of this fragrance, but what I really did not like was this musky dry down, which I got a lot. I forgot to mention when I reviewed this $4,300 fragrance called Amalfi Intrigant. I think it was called Intrigant. Yeah, Intrigant. There was a very similar sort of bounty sheet. I forgot what the note was because, again, I'm not claiming to be a perfumer. I'm not sitting up here going, oh, I can smell Galaxolide or no. But there was definitely, as both of these, this was also supposed to be an oud. And this is supposed to be, you know, a take on oud and a bunch of other things. But as it dried, that sort of bounty dryer sheet thing is definitely, you could smell them. You could smell, and in this kind of fragrance, you would not expect that to come out. But go check out my review if you want to learn more. But yes, H, the Exclusive Black Tear is number 34 on the list. Number 33 is a Cartier, and a very good Cartier. Someone just made a joke once. They said, all you have to do to have Ramsey like a fragrance equals add honey. And you know what? There is some truth to that, because I love a good honey note. I've reviewed Boss Number 1 on the channel, my favorite honey fragrance of all time, but this is called Cartier's L'Envol, And this is the Eau de Parfum. I think they released an Eau de Toilette a year or two later, but this is a tester, hence why the bottle is actually bigger and heavier. And I got this on purpose because I did not want the skinny glass of the proper bottle. The proper one, you can take this out and it's like, it's almost like a tuning fork. It's so thin. And I was like, man, I'm going to break that shit. So I got the tester on purpose so I can get a fatter bottle. But this is interesting because there's not very many notes in here. It's basically honey, musk, and some sort of like woody notes. I think there's maybe guaiac wood and iris. So you get iris, honey, musk, and basically this woodiness, but it comes across as this very fresh honey. You know how a lot of honeys that I love and rave about on the channel are from the 80s and they go animalic, dirty honey, pissy honeys as I would call them. This is not that. This is like a fresh, almost floral musky take on honey. An airy, woody nectar, a life potion for men to take off. So yes, I would say if you love the honey like I do, give this a shot. I mean, is it my favorite honey fragrance? No. Is it a good fragrance? Oh yes. Cartier puts out some under the radar stuff, I'll tell you that. And I think Mathilde Laurent is a good perfumer. I really rate her as a perfumer, and I cannot wait to get to know some of those Cartier Oud fragrances that were very kindly sent to me recently to discuss some samples. So, okay, I'm going to take a quick water break. So excuse me whilst I hydrate. All right, number 32 is Acqua di Parma's Colonia Sandalo, discontinued. I think they re-released it under a new name or a new bottle or something, but the 2016 version is discontinued. I've reviewed it on the channel. You can check it out. Very woody, spicy, very interesting sandalwood. Beautiful, smooth, creamy Indian sandalwood with tonka, lavender, cardamom, amber, and citruses in the top. Really like that one. Probably one of my favorite Acqua di Parmas I've come across so far. Colonia Sandalo. Number 31 was Valentino Uomo. This version is also discontinued. They've now re-released it, but the collar looks different. So see how my collar's smooth? The new one they re-released looks like a spike collar, like, you know, an emo chick walking around with a spike collar or something. So this, and some people say it has been reformulated. Again, I told you there are going to be some guilty pleasures in here. This is a sweet, powdery, this is Valentino's take on the Dior Homme DNA. And to be quite frank, I love this DNA. I love Dior Homme. I love Prada's take on the DNA. And I love Valentino Uomo Intense. So Uomo Intense for men 2016 is Clary Sage, Mandarin Orange, Iris, Tonka Bean, Vanilla, and Black Leather. And so this does dry down, very leathery, and I love this DNA. This powdery iris, I mean, I'm in heaven with this type of DNA. I just love it. And I know that there are some snobs out there which will be like, well, but this is not the proper iris, you know. This is just some iris molecule. What you really need is you have to go get this special type of perfume which only uses a certain iris molecule. I don't care about any of that. I like the way Dior Homme smells. I like the way Valentino Uomo smells. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of these type of fragrances. Sophie Lab is the perfumer, apparently. So, again, this is discontinued. This version. I've never smelled the new stuff. If anyone has, and if they know it's the same, let me know. But I'm just a fan. I mean, if you love Dior Homme, I would think 99.9% you would like this. Very, very good stuff. Sad it's discontinued. So Valentino Uomo Intense from 2016. Beautiful. And I've got a sample of Valentino Uomo floating around somewhere. I'll review that one of these days as well. All right, number 30 is a sleeper. No one talks about this scent. Nobody. I don't think I've ever heard anyone else talk about this scent. I'm sure someone has, but I just am not aware of it. I stumbled across this, I don't know where. I think I bought it because it was just so cheap, and I was like, you know what? How can I pass this up? And this is in honor of the great late Oscar de la Renta. This is called Oscar de la Renta Gentleman. And obviously, Mr. de la Renta loved playing dominoes. So some people say, oh, it's a tacky ass bottle. I actually really like this. This is like an homage to Oscar de la Renta. And so what's interesting about this fragrance to me is that the spicy opening in the top is fantastic. And you're hit with these amazing fresh citruses, which most frag heads like me gloss right over the citruses, right? Grapefruit, cardamom, or grapefruit, bergamot, we don't care about any of that. But here, the citruses are done very, very well. And they're mixed with a note of champagne. So champagne is a note that you don't get very much in masculine perfumery. I've seen a bunch of champagne notes, but many times it's marketed for women. So this is like celebratory champagne bottles popping, citruses fizzy, like you just poured some ginger ale and you can, see the bubbles bursting. And it's mixed with this beautiful cardamom note. And I smelled this right around the same time as I bought Boundless by Amouage. And everyone was talking about the cardamom note in Boundless and the spicy notes in the top. And for some reason, my brain linked the two. And there definitely is a beautiful cardamom in here. I think they're different, obviously. They're completely different fragrances, by the way. But just the cardamom note, I was going, man, you know what? This is just as good of a cardamom note as some of the as Boundless. But it's mixed with black tea and rosemary and geranium, Haitian vetiver, labdanum amber, and woody notes. So obviously, I think I paid like $20 for this. Something stupid, $22, or I don't remember. I think this is an underrated fragrance. Very professional. Obviously, my favorite from the house is Oscar de la Renta Pour Louis, which I'll review on the channel very soon as a Vintage Hall of Fame review. But this is very, very good. It's very hard to make a no-nonsense fragrance. This smells very professional and buttoned up, but also make it feel like there's a little bit of playfulness underneath that exterior, and that champagne note just does it. That fizzy champagne in the top, I think it's brilliant. So Gentleman by the house of Oscar de la Renta comes in at number 30. Number 29 is The Spirit of Dubai, and it is called So Spirit of Dubai, I've reviewed all from the first generation. I've reviewed a bunch from the second generation as well. But this one is called Ferragamo. And Ferragamo ended up turning into whatever the second generation was from Spirit of Dubai. Oh, God. Now, I'm going to have to look. It's going to drive me crazy if I don't. Whatever the one with the huge rose on the top. And it was supposed to be like a black rose on the top that they sprinkled with diamond dust or something stupid. But I've reviewed it on the channel. Now I have to know. I have to find it now. Now I have to. Now I'm clicking all these buttons. I have to find it. Come on. Show up, baby. Show up. What are you called? Come on. Show yourself. Reveal your truth. It was called Nargesi. It was called Nargesi. Okay. So Nargesi, I've reviewed on the channel. One of the most amazing rose openings. It came out of Ferragamo, okay? So they used Ferragamo as like a blueprint, basically, to create Nargesi. Well, Nargesi, to me, is superior to Ferragamo, but Ferragamo had a very interesting sort of rose trio of things like Bulgarian rose, Damask rose, Turkish rose, coffee and spices and benzoin and more rose and castoreum, caramel, leather, amber, civet in the base, all that stuff. There's a ton of notes in these Spirit of Dubai fragrances, but I liked Ferragamo, but I didn't like the weird caramel aspect. But the way that they changed Ferragamo into, I just said it, now I forgot it. That goes to show you my memory now, right now. But I did have the food poisoning, so at least I have an excuse. When they upgraded it, in my opinion, that is really where Nargesi, when they made Nargesi, that's where they created the most amazing rose opening. I've smelled in a fragrance like this that was not from like Russian Atom or Ensar Oud or something like that. The opening of Narcissi is stunning for a rose lover, but it goes away very quickly, unfortunately. So Fajama, good, but it ended up getting better with Narcissi, in my opinion, at number 29. Number 28 is a Serge Luton, and this is maybe one of the more challenging Serge Luton. Some people really struggle with this one because it is basically, think the gingerbread man drunk on wine. Okay, that's basically the scent. The gingerbread man drunk on wine, locked up in an insane asylum, and he has nothing to do. This is called Baptême de Feu. Baptême de Feu. And Baptême de Feu has this very strange candied orange, Baptême de Feu. Candied orange, almost like port wine. Maybe not port wine, but definitely some sort of wine. Red wine with, so, cinnamon and clove. Candied orange, cinnamon, clove, gingerbread, and this very strange, almost like this boozy wine. Okay, so it's spicy, fruity, but it's insane. There's a weird metallic note that ends up coming through later on from memory. I feel like it came out more on skin. Now I'm getting more of the orange and fruitiness. Maybe even other fruitsy or dried fruits. That gingerbread note and animalic. I don't know that animalic. I don't know what it is. Castoreum. I don't know what he used in here, but this just smells like there's an insanity to this scent. Okay, that's why I said insane asylum. Right? They gave the person like the bottle of wine for the night, and they were like, dude, just have at it. Here's your markers, draw all over the walls, you know, let your inner demon out, buddy. There's something crazy, but you know what? Even though this is an insane creation and a very artistic, with that weird wine, gingerbread, holiday thing going on, Christopher Sheldrake made this, and you know what? He does not make bad fragrances. Say what you want about the man. He does not make bad fragrances. This is really, really good. So, Baptême de Feu comes in at number 28. Number 27 is a Guerlain. And it is one of the more mass-appealing Guerlains that I like. This is called L'Homme Idéal Eau de Parfum. Now, they've since changed the bottle. I think Thierry Vasseur said that they have not really changed the scent, but they changed the bottle. And L'Homme Idéal Eau de Parfum. This is basically, think about the Guerlainade, right? So you have lots of vanillas and tonkas and almondy notes. Guerlain loves using almond, and I think this whole line is basically based on this almond accord. So almondy with vanilla and tonka, and very attractive rose, Bulgarian rose, which sometimes gives off these little fruity elements. There's hints of frankincense wisping through here. There's little hints of cherry, which cherry, after this came out in 2016, okay, there's no cherry note listed, but there's like this weird spicy cherry thing that comes through. Cherry really started to take off. If you follow trends in perfumery, cherry became like a big note. Tom Ford did Lost Cherry and Electric Cherry last year and all that stupid shit. Cherry smoke, and, you know, I've never smelled any of them. I know that Bodicea the Victorious has done cherry. Cherry is like became a big thing. And I think this was one of the fragrances that really started that trend. L'Homme Idéal Eau de Parfum. Known as a date night fragrance, known as a panty dropper, all this stuff. And I could see it. I mean, it's very attractive. Definitely very attractive. Very easy to wear and attractive, but it keeps that Guerlain DNA. So it's never boring. For one of the designer Guerlains, like if someone came to me and said, Ramsey, I want to sort of go with one of the designer lines to start, who should I go with? I would probably say go for Guerlain's. Go get L'Homme Idéal. Go get Guerlain Homme, Eau de Parfum. Those are great starters. Skip Bleu de Chanel and Sauvage and all that stuff. So anyways, L'Homme Idéal Eau de Parfum at number 27. Number 26 is a review off of a sample from the house of Carner, Barcelona. This is called Dore 70s. I've often said that our good friend Rodrigo Flores Rude deserves to have higher budgets and to do things that are more interesting than what he was kind of forced to try and work with lower budgets with John Barbados. And in Carner, Barcelona, and the brand of Areej, those two brands, he's really been able to shine. And I really was impressed with this, like full bottle impressed. I would totally buy a bottle of Dore 70s. The spicy, woody aspects mixed with the tobacco, old school tobacco. There were things like Ethiopian frankincense and leather. The Osmanthus Absolute was amazing. It was sway. I mean, it was my kind of scent. Peru balsam and oak moss and patchouli. It definitely had some of the 70s old school touches, but it was modernized and just brilliant. Brilliant. Some people compare it to Iron Duke from... Why is nothing easy? Some people compare it to Iron Duke by the House of Beaufort, which I have. I will review on the channel soon. But I think they're different enough you can own both. This is crazy too. Like, if you think Baptême de Feu is like your speed, if you like that type of crazy perfumery, this is that. And there's things like soap, metal, blood, booze, all this kind of stuff. Soap and smoke. All kind of crazy things in here. But Dore 70 is amazing. Go watch my review if you're interested in learning more about that one. Number 25, we're slowly chipping away. Number 25 is what many consider to be one of the best iris scents of all time. I disagree. I didn't see it as one of the greatest scents, but I did review it on the channel. It's from the house of Masque Milano, and it is called La Tessa. Rest in peace to the founder of Masque Milano, by the way. But La Tessa is a very good iris, floral, irisy. This also has a champagne note, a la Oscar de la Renta Pour Louis. So maybe something was going on in 2016. Champagne note caught fire all of a sudden, with Italian Iris Absolute, French Orris Root, Italian Orris Root. This is one of those, for the folks who are like, yes, I only wear the highest quality irises. I could totally see that with La Tessa. It is very, very good. They say there's Mysore sandalwood in the base. That really put me off because I know in 2016, you're probably not using real Mysore sandalwood. Probably. I'm not saying you're not, but probably not. You're probably creating a Mysore sandalwood accord, but I hate it when brands do that. Well, we're creating a Mysore sandalwood accord. Okay, fine. But I liked it, and it was a good fragrance. If money was no issue, I'd own a bottle. La Tessa was very good. So number 25 is La Tessa. Go watch my full review if you're interested in learning more. 24 is a Fortin Manley fragrance called Fatih Sultan Mahmed. Another sample review, which is on the channel under my Fortin Manley playlist. You'll find it. This is a very traditional Fortin Manley fragrance with the benzoin, vanilla, patchouli sort of creation with that red apple note, which he really enjoyed. I like the oud and tulip combination and ambergris. I actually really enjoyed this one from memory. Again, if money was no issue, I would totally own a bottle. So go check out my review if you're interested in learning more. That's Fatih Sultan Mahmed. Hell of a name. Number 24. Number 23 is the fragrance I mentioned earlier, for those of you taking notes and paying attention. Number 23 is This Is Him. And the reason I mentioned it earlier is because I said that Aurélien Guichard created a fragrance with Nathalie Lorson, and it's one of my favorite Aurélien Guichard creations. I'm not a fan of old Aurélien, except he has a badass name. He has a Roman emperor name. Aurélien is a badass name. But I don't like his brand either. That brand he created, Maitrier Premier, not a fan. Not a fan of Maitrier Premier at all. But I am a fan of this, and I really think this is a good fragrance. He created this with Nathalie Lorson. The easiest way for me to describe this fragrance, it's called This Is Him by Zadig and Voltaire. And This Is Him, with an exclamation mark, just in case you weren't sure. This Is Him is, and I've got a tester, so there's the notes for those of you interested. And if you're thinking, wow, that's a very simple note listing, well, it is. But the way that I would describe this, for those of you interested, is just think of what Nathalie Lorson did with Vetiver, with the Encre Noire line, right? Encre Noire is seen as kind of like the cheap go-to but high quality vetiver, right? She did something similar with This Is Him, but this is sort of the cheap, not in smell, but in cost. I got 100 mils of this for like 45 bucks or something ridiculously cheap for 100 mils. She did the same thing, but here it's for this frankincense, this peppery frankincense in woods. Very Nathalie Lorson. That's why I'm not giving Aurélien Guichard very much credit for this, although I'm sure he played his role. But I am crediting Nathalie Lorson for this, because if you know her work with that peppery top, which she loves using over and over again, and the frankincense, this is high quality stuff. I mean, this is good. The grapefruit, which again she has used in other of her creations. I'm really a fan of this. There's just enough vanilla to make it likable, easy to wear to work and stuff like that. But this is an amazing creation. No one talks about it. No one. Well, that's not true. I know it has gotten some talk, but it should get more. Very good stuff from Zadig and Voltaire. So number 23 was This Is Him. Number 22 is probably one of my favorite modern, probably one of my favorite modern fougères. And this is called Linsalmis. Linsalmis. And Linsalmis is Lalique's take. So Lalique makes fantastic cheap fragrances, if you will. Okay, so if you are familiar with Lalique's work, they make amazing cheap fragrances. Okay, and so if you're kind of on a budget but you want to smell professional and proper, then check out Lalique's work. It is fantastic stuff. I can't praise them enough. I'll be reviewing some of their works. And so Linsalmis is kind of this modern take on a fougère. And so what's so interesting about it, though, is it smells like a proper old school fougère. But there was a trend that's been going on recently in that they would take a sort of old school DNA, let's say, and they would mix it with boozy notes, okay? And here in Linsalmis, the boozy note that they have chosen is rum. So you get this old school fougère DNA, lavender and, clary sage, which can come across as very sweaty, and some say old manish, but I love clary sage, black pepper, oak moss, Haitian vetiver, patchouli, and they've mixed it with modern notes in the top like rum and modern notes in the base. There's a note called Clearwood. Fabrice Pellegrin is the perfumer, and Clearwood is a Firmenich ingredient that is supposed to have a soft and clean odor profile without the earthy and leathery aspects found in natural patchouli oil. There is patchouli in here, but there's also this Clearwood, which is supposed to make it feel more modern. Instead of the 70s patchouli, it's supposed to be a little more modern. And I think Linsalmis is fantastic for those fougère lovers. Absolutely brilliant. And if you noticed, the similarities between the sides of these two, Salvatore Ferragamo and Linsalmis, that is because Lalique makes these bottles for other houses. So there is some crossover in the bottles, but Lalique punches way, way above their weight class, okay? So yes, Linsalmis comes in at number 22. Number 21 is a Dusita fragrance, and it is actually a discontinued. No, this one's still available. Excuse me. It is still available, and it is called Isara. Now, how's that for calfskin box, me lord? Ooh, so soft. So Isara is sort of Dusita's straight up and down, easy to wear take on like a fougère. And it is very herbal. There's some pine in here. There's tonka bean and clary sage. You get some shaving foam, Scots pine needle, bourbon vetiver, musk ambergris, and oak moss. Very traditional, green, spicy. I would say masculine, but it's unisex. I think this is a traditionally masculine release because of the shaving foam, fresh aspect of the outdoors. But I like Isara for like an easy to wear to the office or something like that fragrance. Very, very well done by Dusita, by Pisara Umavijani, is I believe how you pronounce her name. I probably just butchered it, but that's okay. And number 21. Number 20. Number 20 is my favorite John Varvatos fragrance, and it is Dark Rebel Rider, and maybe one of the coolest bottles with the leather straps or the leather zip-ups, like he's wearing, Dark Rebel Rider is wearing a leather jacket because he's a damn outlaw, and he is. This is fantastic stuff. I think if this was in a Roja bottle, all you guys would be going crazy for it, but since it's in a John Varvatos bottle, no one pays any attention to it. And again, I think that this is our good friend Rodrigo Flores Rue of Givaudan showing off. Just absolutely strutting like a peacock, showing off in this one. This is fucking amazing stuff. I mean, this is my kind of fragrance. So good. You get a little hint of the booziness from the original Dark Rebel, but instantly you notice this is totally different because it starts bringing in much more of this Russian leather, and there's so much going on here, but I mean, it literally, at its heart, it's a Russian leather fragrance with cacao absolute, so it's chocolatey. That's why I say, if this was in a Roja bottle, you know, Roja loves throwing in like all these crazy notes: leather, chocolate, frankincense, iris, saffron, citron, osmanthus, benzoin, tolu balsam. Like, the note listing reminds me of a Roja. It really does. You know, if you like things like Great Britain by Roja, check this one out. I'm not saying they smell exactly the same, but they play in a similar. There's even an iris note in here, Florentine iris. So I think this punches way, way above its weight class. Discontinued, of course, but hell of a fragrance. Dark Rebel Rider by John Varvatos at number 20. Number 19. Now we get to the discontinued Dusita. It is Oud Infini. Very, very tough civet note in the top. Go check out my review if you're interested. I did do a full review of this. There is a beautiful rose, as she is so highlighted right there on the front. I've got the Discovery Atomizer, and you can see I've got a pretty decent amount left, although I've given it a fair amount of wears. You do not need a lot of sprays with this stuff. It's very, very strong. And really, I think most people will enjoy the dry down more than the opening. The opening is only going to be loved by the Fragcom diehards because that civet note is quite challenging. Very urinal, okay? The civet was a little incontinent that day and had a rough day. But yes, I do have a review on the channel if you're interested. Dusita's Oud Infini. Okay, next on the list we have number 18, and it's another Fortin Manley I've reviewed, very recently, on the channel. It is called Amber Absolutely. And Amber Absolutely is Fortin Manley's amber, and it's a damn good amber. In fact, it's full bottle worthy, I would say. I really enjoyed the fruity aspects of it, plum and blackcurrant with the rose and labdanum and amber and woods and benzoin. Very traditional Rasai Fort creation. Good stuff. I would go check out my review, but very resinous amber. And even though he does use sweet fruits, I like the way he uses them. Very decadent sweet fruits. Well done by Fortin Manley, number 18. Number 17 is probably one of my favorite Tonka fragrances no one talks about, and it's got a ram on the top, which should be my logo, according to some. Maybe I'll make this as my channel logo one of these days. But this is Fortitude by the house of Robert Graham. Discontinued fragrance, by the way. Discontinued. But a very interesting take on Tonka. It's mostly Tonka with tobacco and patchouli. So very simple fragrance, but such a beautiful take on Tonka. I mean, I would take this over like Feb Delicious by Dore, and that was like 3 or 4 times the price. of this at retail. So if you get the big bottle of this, you almost get like a ram bust on the top, almost like the Penhaligon's bottles from the Portraits collection. But yes, I'm a huge fan of this. Very few people talk about this Robert Graham line. Fantastic stuff. So Fortitude comes in at number 17. Number 16, the final Fort and Manley, and probably my favorite, although I have a Fort and Manley live stream if you want to hear my thoughts on some of the other Fort and Manleys we did not talk about today. And this one's called Bajnikov, or it was originally called Mr. Bajnikov's Purple Hat, which is a hell of a name. But Bajnikov is basically a chocolate oud, and a pretty damn good one for this style of fragrance. It's lavender, vanilla, dark chocolate, oud, and cedarwood. Still to review this, but I will review this. And you get some of the fruitiness here that he loves using. I would not be surprised if there's some of that red apple or, some of that, fruit combo that he loves to use, plum and apple, and would not surprise me at all. But really, really enjoy Bajnikov as an easier oud to wear. So that's number 16, Fort and Manley, Bajnikov. Number 15 is a fragrance house that I am committed to reviewing more for you guys from. It's from the house of Areej Parfums. She uses the same provider of oils, Remy's house, L'Atelier Francois Metri. I can never say the damn name, but it's same houses that provide oil to Les Indemodables, which is their house, and same houses that provided oils for Eugene's house, which is Les Abstraits, so Dissandres and La Douleur Exquise, which I have reviews on the channel of both if you're interested in checking those out. So solid perfume oil provider. And for the house of Areej, I reviewed on the channel a fragrance from 2016 called Night Flower. And Night Flower is a fragrance that has a patchouli note in it. I'm sorry, let me start again. I was looking down. It's a fragrance that has a tuberose note in it, hence the Night Flower. But the tuberose is a Indian tuberose note that smells very unique. I've only ever smelled one other tuberose note done in a similar style. The fragrances are completely different, but the way Antoine Lee, who is the perfumer for Night Flower, did the tuberose note in Dissandres, you will pick up the similarities in that note. God, this is so good. And so if you're someone like me who has not found a tuberose fragrance that really does it for you yet, check out Night Flower and check out Dissandres. These are the two I would recommend you to try. But there's a lot more going on in Night Flower, so go watch my review if you're interested. But what a fragrance. I mean, that's full bottle worthy to me. Okay, number 14, we have a Loewe, and we have 001 Man. 001 Man. So, 001 Man is Loewe, probably one of the best Loewe modern fragrances. I think the best Loewe fragrance is Essentia, which is basically, for all intents and purposes, discontinued. It's not, but I don't know what the modern is like. And so I would recommend going for a vintage if you can. But 001 Man Eau de Parfum from 2016 is Loewe's take on this Dior Homme DNA. So remember I said earlier that I really like Valentino Uomo Intense from 2016. I do. And I also really like Loewe 001 Man, because this kind of takes that rooty, irisy, powdery iris, modern, masculine makeup thing, and uses carrot seeds to amplify it. Carrot seeds can also be slightly powdery and feel like iris, but there's cypress, cardamom, violet, ambrette. They've mixed this with ambrette, which definitely will give you Dior Homme vibes, and white musk and Indonesian patchouli, but there's just something so succulent about this, so mouth-watering. It's woody, spicy, brilliant fragrance. Gets no love in Fragcom, but I adore 001 Man. I think it was Zhao who pointed me on to this. I can't remember exactly, but very impressed with the aspects of 001 Man. I'll review it one of these days. But if you like Dior Homme, you're probably safe to buy 001 Man, and you're probably safe to buy Valentino Uomo Intense in the vintage 2016 version. So 001 Man at number 14. Number 13 is a Nishane. And I know some of you guys hate this house. I love this fragrance, and there's nothing I can do about it, so I have to be honest with you guys. This is called Fan Your Flames. So, Fan Your Flames is a boozy tobacco, and it's almost like a boozy tobacco that has these touches of coconut. So it's very tropical. It's like a tropical tobacco, coconut rum. I love this stuff. It's woody, spicy. You get tonka, Chinese cedar, and oak moss. So good. And I'll review it one of these days. There's something with Rumi. There's like a Rumi quote or something that inspired this fragrance. But if you want a proper Rumi fragrance, go watch my review of Ensar's Rumi. That was a fantastic coffee oud, which I would love a bottle, but needless to say, limited funds. So number 13, Nishane Fan Your Flames. Number 12 is a Spirit of Dubai, and probably one of my favorite from the collection outside of just the regular oud. And this one's called Majalis. And Majalis is my favorite because I was actually born in Jordan. And Majalis, which I think is the Arabic word for like sitting room, is a fragrance that, there it is. Yep, Majalis. I would love a bottle of this stuff. So Majalis, oh man, there was something about that coffee note in here that really took me back. I remember going on a trip when I was very young with my family to Jordan. And it was very customary to serve Arabic coffee anywhere you would go. So we stayed in a high-end hotel, and the mingling fragrances of Hedi Kawa, which is the Arabic word for coffee, and dates, mixed with heavenly frankincense, cardamom, and royal rose. By the way, it's like a fucking scroll, which is a cool-ass design. And royal rose incense bring to life rich and full-bodied scent of Majalis, rich like the feel of Persian rugs and intricate patterns. Because remember, sitting room, Majalis. Majalis is the flying carpet of magic fragrances, all ready to unfurl at your feet. Hell of a fragrance. I really, really enjoyed Majalis. And again, if money was no issue, I would have a bottle. It is fantastic stuff. One of the best spicy orientals from this line, which they're all pretty much spicy orientals, but the dates and Arabic coffee and honey, leather, oud, patchouli, osmanthus, fruity notes, spicy notes, floral notes, incense. I mean, it just goes in all directions, and yet it still manages to kind of focus on the dates and the coffee, and that, you know, if you ever see an actual bottle of Majalis, it is heavily, heavily decorated in colors, and you get lots of sort of like reds and greens and blues, and it looks like an Arabic mural, you know, and the colors really stand out to me in this fragrance, kind of like the colors in a Nila Vermeer fragrance might feel if you've ever smelled any of her work. But imagine it done like in a Middle Eastern. Now I can't get this damn thing back on. See, this is why I never take these off to read them, because I can't get the damn thing back on. All right, buddy, we're going to sit here all night until you get back on. The people are waiting. Get your ass back in there. All right. All right, close enough for government work. It's actually not close enough, but we're going to call it. Okay. So next on the list, so that was Majalis at number 12. Number 11 is a Chanel, and it is the one and only Coromandel. So of course, I spilled water on it. So Coromandel is loved by one and all. It is chocolate patchouli, but you know my problem with Coromandel, and I do love Coromandel, I won't lie. Coromandel is a fantastic fragrance. I mean, some would say I'm crazy for putting it as low as 11, but the reality, I'm gonna write this in the air, Coromandel. The reality is that I have just come to like. I have just come to, let's say, appreciate Serge Luton's Borneo 1834 even more. And I know this came first, okay? And I'm sure both Christopher Sheldrakes. And I'm sure Borneo 1834 inspired Coromandel. And Coromandel is a fantastic fragrance. I would just love a vintage eau de parfum. Like I'd sell it, or a vintage eau de toilette. I'd sell this and go for the vintage eau de toilette if I could. But this is very, very good with the white chocolate and patchouli and florals and Chanel, sort of aldehydic citrus. Beautiful opening, beautiful fragrance. But I've come to associate this on, let's say, a beautiful woman more. I think the harsher aspects of Borneo 1834 fit me better. So that is my take, and I'm sticking to it. Coromandel, number 11. Number 10. Number 10 is a sample which I've reviewed. One of my favorite labdanum fragrances of all time. Again, if money was no issue, I'd own a bottle, and it was called Everlasting by the Zoo. Rumor is the zoo is closing down as a house. Very, very sad. Christophe Laudamiel's house. I don't know if it's true or not, but if you're interested in the zoo's perfumes, you should grab bottles while you can. Resinous, woody, labdanum and French narcissus absolute and oak moss and musk. A beautiful labdanum. Honestly, one of the best labdanums I've ever smelled. Like if I had to rank my labdanums, that's going to be top 5. It is fantastic. Fantastic fragrance. So Everlasting by the Zoo, just unbelievable. So I know I bashed on the Zoo by putting Club Designer Scent Tattoo last on this list, number 53. But Everlasting makes up for it for being in the top 10. Number 9 is a Roja, and it's a discontinued Roja. Although they say you can still buy it. They say the formula is the same. I don't know, but I have a review on the channel. This is called Oligarch Eau de Parfum. So Roja basically gave in to the woke mind virus and canceled Oligarch because it offended some folks. And so they re-released it as Isola Blue, which, what the hell is that? But Oligarch Eau de Parfum is one of the reasons. Remember earlier I said I did not buy a bottle of Terre de Hermes because of Icon. Well, this is the other reason I never bought a bottle, because I got this very early on when this was released, and it is fantastic stuff. I'm a huge fan of Oligarch. And I think Oligarch is, obviously Terre de Hermes and Oligarch are not the same scent. Oligarch is more in the fruity sheeper category. You get lots of fruits, so blackcurrant, apples, even strawberries and red berries and coconuts and a lot of that, right? Green grass, but there's a lot of that isoe super airiness, that woody, airy isoe super that you get in Terre with the vetiver and stuff like that. And so it's one of the reasons I never bought a bottle of Terre for so long. But I really like Oligarch. Never smelled Isola Blue. But anyways, enough of that. So that's at number 9. Number 8 is a discontinued Guerlain. One of my favorite from this Middle Eastern line. It's called Ambre Eternal. This stuff is absolutely amazing. I have a review on the channel if you want to check it out. Ambre Eternal is a spicy, woody, coriander, cardamom, ambergris, and Thierry Vassar mentioned they used a lot of real ambergris in the scent, and you can really get it. So when they say amber, Ambre Eternal, it's both. It's amber and it's ambergris. It's gray amber, okay? So there's orange blossom absolute to add a little bit of freshness with amber, leathery notes, and woody notes. And I love the way that the amber mixes with the spices and the ambergris. Go check out my full review if you're interested in learning more about this scent. Very, very hard to find now. I think it only lasted a year or two. This is a 2018 bottle, if I'm not mistaken. And I think this was the end of its life. I can't see the 8B01. So yeah, this was 2016 release. This is a 2018 bottle, and then it got discontinued 2 years, I think it ran. So very sad story. Ambre Eternal, beautiful fragrance. Number 8. Number 7 is an Amouage I just reviewed a couple weeks ago, or a week or two ago. Go check out my review. It is Midsummer. And Midsummer is, God, what a fragrance. I mean, I don't know what can be said that I didn't say on my review. It's ash. There's a chrysanthemum flower, which is a death flower in many cultures. So it has a little bit of interlude in there with that ambery, warming myrrh feel. But there's also rum. It's boozy. I mean, there's so many aspects of this. So unique and classy. And artistic. Artistic is a fantastic word for this. Some people say this belongs in a museum. Bullshit. I mean, I love wearing it. You can see the dent I put in it. The juice is like right there. So I wish I would have gotten the 100 ml, but I'm happy to have the bottle I have since it is now discontinued. So Midsummer, number 7. Number 6 is a Tom Ford. Again, discontinued. Crazy how many discontinued scents, just from 2016. This is Vert d'Encens. Vert d'Encens is one of my favorite green fragrance, and there's an amazing heliotrope note in here. So Vert d'Encens is like green incense. So Vert d'Encens, literally green incense. There's an amazing heliotrope note in here. It smells very pudgy. It makes everything feel Play-Doh-y and sticky, and frankincense, and just green woods, very classy, traditional lavender, slightly herbal, slightly fresh, slightly floral because of the jasmine, and the green basil adds to the wood, to the just imagine like a forest. Imagine like a forest that's a little bit wet, damp after a rain, and it's slightly smoky, slightly spicy. The frankincense note is amazing. My favorite from the Vert line, they did all kind of different. They did like 4 of these. This is my favorite, Vert d'Encens. The guy that sold me the bottle said his daughter stole the Tom Ford top to put on her phone because she had to flex, of course, because Tom Ford, baby. But green, resinous, just beauty. I love this stuff. So good. One of the best Tom Fords. Number 6. Number 5. One of my favorite patchoulis of all time. 50% patchouli oil, according to some. I don't know if that's true or not, but it says that something like 50% of this is an unusually high concentration of patchouli. This is Monsieur. I love Monsieur. I think it is just fantastic. It sort of kicks old school because of the high concentration of patchouli, but there's something very modern about it with the rum absolute. Remember I mentioned earlier rum and modern fougères and stuff like that, modernizing the scent. But it's also, you get a huge dose of frankincense, so you get like incense and suede and saffron. This is a very heavy-handed release by Bruno Jovanovic, and I think this was the first fragrance released after Estee Lauder bought Frederic Malle. And some people talked a lot of shit about this, that, oh, they're messing up, going in a different direction. I think this is an absolute. For someone like me who loves old school scents, like if you're into the 70s and 80s fragrances, you'll probably really like Monsieur. Earthy, woody. That patchouli is just fantastic. Brilliant patchouli. However they did the patchouli in here, it is amazing. And that mandarin orange makes up a bigger part of the scent than you would think. So I'll review it one of these days, but Monsieur comes in at number 5. Number 4 is a Roja, and I've got a comparison video on the channel between the vintage and the modern. This is Sultanate of Oman. Go check out my review if you're interested in learning about the different versions. But Sultanate of Oman is one of my all-time favorite incense fragrances. The incense note in here is so elegant and classy, and it's mixed with that Roja DNA. He likes to Roja things up, right? Probably one of the best from the Middle Eastern line as well, from his country, his lines of different countries, where he did UAE and Saudi Arabia and blah, blah, blah. So this is Sultanate of Oman. And of course, Oman is known for their top-notch frankincense. And this is unbelievable frankincense mixed with all of the different amazing Roja, touches here and there. So you get raspberry, which I mentioned earlier, with eau de part, with O the exclusive and H the exclusive black tier. But this goes in a completely different direction. And the other thing is, I don't get that cheaper Bounty drier sheets dry down like I do in H the exclusive Parfum. I just think Sultanate of Oman is one of the top Middle Eastern line Rojas, in my opinion. So that's at number 4. Number 3 is an Andy Tower, one of the best spicy ambers. This is Au Coeur du Désert, so the extrait version of L'air du Désert Marocain. I'm going to put this on skin because why the hell not? I love this stuff. Accord du Désert is Andy Towers' work is, man, I need to review this. Fuck. That, instantly what I'm hit with, if you know Andy Towers' work, you're going to get this ambergris note that he created with labdanum and spices, and it's heavy and thick, and you definitely get the L'air du Désert Marocain feel, but it just feels thicker and heavier and denser. And oh my God, what an amber. What a brilliant amber. And there's a lot of that ambergris note that Andy Tower created. I don't think he's using real ambergris. I think this is an accord he created, and it's brilliant. I mean, I've never smelled an ambergris note like this, but it just works. I've heard it described as a cooling ambergris, like it pauses time. I've heard it described as, like that frozen feel. Wow. Just brilliant for an amber. For a resinous, smoky, spicy, balsamic, you get the patchouli and ambergris and the amber note, which you can pick out the labdanum and vanilla. There's something slightly dirty but not off-putting. 5-star fragrance. Absolutely brilliant. Number 3, Accord du Désert. Number 2 is Oriental Velours from the house of Les Indemodables. Definitely I would get a full bottle of this. Definitely, if money was no issue, I would get a full bottle. Oriental Velours is one of my favorite myrrhs of all time. If you're on a myrrh kick, if you're following the duck, Rich Mitch, and you're on a myrrh kick, Oriental Velours is one of my personal favorites, and it uses this amazing Somalian myrrh mixed with spruce. Spruce is very underrated in the fragrance world. I think more fragrances should use that spruce note. So spruce, Somalian myrrh, bourbon vanilla, Haitian vetiver, and jasmine. Auriculatum, which I think is the Egyptian jasmine, but it's just brilliant. Florence Foulet is the perfumer before Antoine Lee kind of took over. Man, this Accord du Désert is, I might have to make that my scent of the day tomorrow. So finally, number 1. If you noticed for a second there earlier in the video, I paused. And the reason I paused is because I said, shit, I completely forgot this scent. So we have a dual number 1, because I can't forget this scent. It has to be on the list. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have a dual number 1. And I know that's cheating, but screw you guys, it's my video. So dual number 1, Bracken Man from Amouage, my favorite modern fougere of all time. Absolutely stunning. Oh, it's like fougere central with a huge hit of clove. If you are a fougere lover, the fact that this is discontinued, I mean, and I think Bracken actually has something to do with it. It's a type of fern or something, but you can see the fern on the front. It's a perfect name for a modern fougere, but it's done in the vintage style, right? Especially with that clove overdose. Brilliant. And 31 Rue Cambon by Chanel. Absolutely one of the greatest chypres I've ever smelled in my life. I think that this is one of the best modern chypres money can buy, in my opinion. The way that the Chanel aesthetic all plays together. Iris is obviously a main theme throughout this entire line. You get the iris, ylang, rose, labdanum, or cistus, patchouli, and the green notes, which almost harken back to the 70s, but not enough. It's elegant, classy, all the things you can imagine to say about it. And, it is, I am just glad to have 200 mils. I never want to run out of this stuff. I love 31 Rue Cambon. I'm in love with 31 Rue Cambon. It has completely stolen my heart. So yes, Bracken Man and 31 Rue Cambon, competing number 1s for an epic fucking video. An hour and 40 minutes, basically. So let me know what your favorites are from 2016. I totally am shooting myself in the foot, saying I was going to include these samples I've reviewed, because it never ends. All my hard work is coming back to bite me in the ass. I hope you guys appreciate the time and effort. I hope you're learning something. Unless you're as obsessed with fragrances as I am, I take it you're probably learning something, because there's just a ton of stuff here. So let me know what your favorites are. Always a pleasure doing these videos for you guys, no matter how much work. Cheers, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.